Welcome back. How's your emotional mastery journey going today? I hope it's going really well. And that's my goal today, is to give you more skills and tools to help you along that journey. And so today I'm going to talk about boundaries. What do they consist of? How do we put a boundary around ourselves and protect ourselves in relationships and friendships and every area of our life? So I'm going to tell you about the two boundary systems, and then I'm going to give you examples of how to work through those boundaries and use them in your own life. So there are two boundary systems. The first one is the external boundary. The second one is the internal boundary, all right? Our external boundary consists of how close we allow somebody to get to us, and also whether we allow sexual intimacy, okay? The internal boundary consists of our thoughts, feelings, and actions, and how we allow ourselves to express those moderately and allow somebody else to express their thoughts, feelings, and actions moderately without losing containment of our emotional and intellectual condition, all right? So I'm going to give you some examples and walk you through how to build those boundaries around yourself. When it comes to the physical aspect, that has to do with hugs and touches and our personal belongings. Some people, they like to get into your phone and all of that. Well, you get to set a boundary. My personal belongings are off limit. I don't like people in my things. If you'd like to investigate those things, please ask my permission. Physical, this happens a lot. Cocktail parties, networking meetings. You know that person, they just come running, hi. They want to hug you like they're crashing your physical boundary, or they stand right next to you, or those who get right in your face, right? When they talk to you, they're just totally crashing that physical boundary. Well, here's how you can protect yourself. As they come towards you, put your arm out. I don't want a hug, and keep it firm, like it's an arrow. This won't break. Now, if you feel bad or guilty as they come and they want to crash it and you start to withdraw it, that's a sign of codependence. You're giving yourself away. You're letting your boundary drop and letting them influence that. We are in control of that. We get to decide, no, I'm going to stay here. It's nice to see you. I love to see that you're here. It's nice meeting you, but this doesn't move. Obviously, when it comes to physical intimacy, we get to decide who, what, when, where, and how we are physically intimate with. And so make a plan. Like if it's a date, think beforehand, what are my boundaries on this? And it can be a discussion. You can lay that out to somebody of, look, this is how I view that, and this is when it's okay for me. It may be too early in the relationship to express that, but you want a plan in place for until that time comes, so that if somebody's going to be more aggressive about it, you know exactly what to say and exactly what to do. Okay? Now let's move on to the internal boundaries, the emotional aspect of this. The way to protect ourselves emotionally is, I've talked about this before, we need a force field around our heart, around who we are. And, a lot of people use a glass bell jar, all right? Or, some will use a castle with a drawbridge, or the Bible to catch people's thoughts, feelings, and actions that come towards us. The key to remember is we get to decide if we let any of that emotion in, okay? It's up to us. And so whatever physical boundary force field you decide to use, you get to, if anything penetrates it, that's our responsibility. They didn't do it to us. That's a sure sign of codependence, is when anyone says, you made me think, feel, or do. And that's how most people describe anything. They go, well, they made me feel. No, that's a loss of internal emotional boundaries. Nobody ever makes us feel anything. We get to decide if we want to take on their reality and their belief about us. We can always negate it. I'll get to how to do that in a minute. But we are responsible for that. And that's why we have this bell jar to protect us, or whatever force field it is that you want. And I always say, have a door that's only operating from the inside. So if they share a thought, feeling, or action, we get to decide, does that fit me? I'll let that in and let it into my heart. If it doesn't, if they say something awful, I get to decide, nope, no, that's not true. And I will not change the way I feel about myself. I will not let your words, your thoughts, your feelings, or your actions determine my internal condition and my belief about myself. I am responsible for that. That is the hallmark of somebody who's moving into moderation and maturity and getting out of codependence, when they stop using the phrase, you made me feel, you made me think, you made me do. Anytime we use that sentence, we have given away our internal, intellectual, and emotional boundary. We have dropped into codependence, and we've allowed somebody else to determine our reality, okay? We're responsible for that. Now, as far as being intimate emotionally with somebody, I always use this suggestion. Think of gas pedals. Think of a car. You're on a first date, and you speed up to 5, 8, 10 miles an hour, telling a little bit about your past, right? Watch what they do. Do they back off? Do they just shut down? Ooh, I better withdraw a little bit. I better pull back some of what I'm sharing. Maybe it's a bit too much. Do they join you? Oh, we have mutual emotional boundaries. We're working this together. We're staying moderate. We're working as a team here. Now, do they extend a little? Well, how do I feel about that? Is that a bit too fast for me? Maybe I need to back off the gas pedal a little bit and see what they do. Do they just slam it? Do you see? So when you're sharing your emotional intimacy, think of gas pedals and protecting yourself. Don't accelerate too fast, but also don't wall off. All right? If you feel safe and protected, keep accelerating. If you don't feel safe and protected, then back off and protect yourself. Okay, so that's some suggestions on how to handle the emotional boundary. Now we get to the intellectual boundary. And this has to do with what's called a reality, my reality and view of the world. And this is contains my thoughts, feelings, and actions and how I see the world. Okay, it's our job to hold on to our reality. Nobody gets to influence unless we allow it. And here's a perfect example. What do you see? Can of Coke, right? See, the red label, like it's obvious. Want a sip? It's Coke. It's obviously a wine glass. But we've all had that experience where somebody's reality is like, oh my God, that's Coke. Don't you see it? Or like sporting events. People are like, he's out of bounds. He's inbounds. That was an interception. That was a fumble. No, it wasn't. You have two different realities. We all see the world differently. And everyone's allowed to have their reality. Now, we lose our internal intellectual boundary when we use what's called negative control and we try and tell them, no, you're wrong. That's not what it is. You shouldn't think that, feel that, or do that. We have just lost our intellectual, internal, emotional boundary. We have just dropped into codependence. We're using negative control and trying to determine their reality. The solution is to ask questions. Really? So you think that's a Coke can? Man, that's fascinating. Tell me more. See, I've used the bell jar. I've kept containment. I didn't allow their reality to influence myself internally, emotionally, or anything. And now I'm using moderation, gas pedals, to go, wow, that's fascinating. I'd love to learn more about that. Do you see that? Now, if you look at my posts, many people, well, not many, some people attack me. It's their reality. They think I'm full of you know what. Well, maybe they're right. And so certain comments come in and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's true. They're right. Other ones, they're in my reality. It's not even close to true. Well, I don't respond. They get to have their reality. But see, I use the bell jar. I don't let it in. I look at all of those comments, whether they're nasty or disagree, and I go, is it true? If it is, I let it in. If it's not, I let it bounce off and I go, wow, so that's their reality. They get to have it. That's how we set boundaries for ourselves. We allow people to have their own thoughts, feelings, and actions, and we are in control of ours. And so nobody ever gets to make us think, feel, or do anything. We decide. And that's how we build mutual intimacy, maturity, trust, love, and connection. Okay, so there's a little help on boundaries. If you'd like to learn more, there's a great book by Mellody called Intimacy Factor. It'll give you, there's tons of examples of how to use these boundaries. So I encourage you to look at that. All right? If you think this will help somebody, please like, comment, and share. And as always, enjoy the journey.